Hey, comic book fans, welcome to Comic Book Corner 2.0, and you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer, and the ice cream truck that's just driving by right now. Welcome back, everybody, and you're about to go on a big countdown journey this week, everybody. We are on countdown episode number 40. That's right, everybody. Lots of books that came out this week. A total of 18 books altogether that I have, and they're all hard copy books. I didn't read any digitals, just did not have enough time to read so many books because I had 18, so I don't have any more time. So, and it's a long countdown. So, with that being said, I don't want to waste any more time. I don't want to babble. Let's go ahead and get started with this week's countdown. We're starting with number 18. And number 18 was Green Lantern Corps issue number 26. I hate John Stewart. Can I just say that? I don't like the guy. I think he is whipped. And he's whipped by his Star Sapphire girlfriend in this issue. I forgot her name. And I think her name is Yura, her real name or whatnot. But yeah, he's whipped. And all he thinks about is, oh, it's my girlfriend. Oh, how? I'm going to punch you in your face because, you're policing the lanterns against each other for using their rings. And what if I have to go against my girlfriend? I hate you. Dude, I thought it was bros before hoes, and that's the way it goes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, he's like, screw you. In the issue, they do make up in the next page, however. Now, the main story here has to do also with one of the new Green Lantern Corps members going to another planet to make peace with his kind. And it doesn't fail because it fails because you get one of those shapeshifter creatures that have been hinting in the issues. That's what's going to be in the next story arc. And I'm like, it's kind of boring. I didn't like it. And it's very forgettable. I also, trying to remember here what else goes on. Oh yeah, we get to see Mogo in here. Mogo creates this Green Lantern City. It's like Mogo's the scapegoat for everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's so frustrating. It's like, hey Mogo, we're gonna live on you. Hey Mogo, why don't you create our Green Lantern City now? Let's live there. It's like Oa's destroyed, and then he's the scapegoat. Just blow up Oa, just keep blowing up Mogo, and then where are they gonna go now? So, I don't know. I didn't like the issue. I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5. I don't like the direction where Green Lantern is going at this point. And I'm going to keep reading it because I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. So next, we move on. And we move on to number 17. And that is Cataclysm Ultimate Comics. The Ultimates issue number 2. In this issue here, in the Cataclysm events and all the tie-ins, this is my least favorite tie-in series. I definitely don't like this one as much. This issue was kind of more of a filler type of issue. Last where we left off, you get to see, Bruce Banner being released on this Galactus swarm. And this swarm is kind of like this apocalyptic thing. It's taking over everything. It's taking over all the humans. It's taking over Earth. And MODOK is that cult leader. And you get to see that here once again. The book does a pretty good job of describing all your characters' names, at least. If you don't know the characters, you're kind of lost. But you get to see some action between the Ultimates, and then you get to see a lot of dialogue between Falcon and MODOK discussing on, how he envisions Earth now, and how this is the way the Earth needs to be, and we need to find a herald for Galactus. And the Falcon was trying to, get MODOK to see things differently because, face it, Vision was his friend, and Vision wouldn't like this, but MODOK is stuck in his ways, and they created this crazy city, and you get to see that here, and it's like, whoa, it's this weird city that's made out of all these Galactus pieces, and Reed Richards said he was 1,000 years in the making, so interesting there. You get to see a lot of battle scenes, a lot of, a lot of things going against this creature. So against these creatures. So you see our heroes battling, and that's pretty much what the issue was. There wasn't much progression here. The artwork is average at best. At times, it's kind of weird. Here you got Godzilla-looking creature. You know, it was just a little weird. So it was okay. It wasn't my favorite issue of the week by far, but it wasn't bad. And I'm obviously going to see the whole thing through. So I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. And Green Lantern got, if I didn't say it, it got 2.5 out of 5. So with that being said, we're going to be moving on. We're moving on now to number 16. And number 16 is Forever Evil tie-in, Justice League issue number 25. Now, some people might be like, wow, Mike, this is really low on your list. Why is it so low? Well, I'll answer your question. The reason why it's so low on the list, reason being is that I'm just not a fan of Owlman. I don't like Batman's opposite. I just don't. The guy's dressed up in an owl suit. Can I take that seriously? Not really. You get to see kind of what it was kind of a similar issue like how you saw Ultraman. You got to see Ultraman's other side of things. And I loved that issue, and I was kind of hoping for that in this. But I wasn't really fond of, you know, his whole deal. Like, it's Thomas Wayne Jr. It's him living, and his brother is Grayson from Earth 3. And so now you find out why Nightwing is captured here, because he wants him to join. Owlman wants him to join him so he can stop Ultraman. That's pretty much what this issue is about. And I didn't need all the other stuff in between to find out what was going on here. There was lots of dialogue. You know, the artwork was okay, but I wasn't really too fond, again, of this issue. Here you get to see some artwork here, and I don't like Owlman. And by the time you get to the end of the issue, you get to see Superwoman. She listens in on the whole conversation because she's holding Owlman's baby. I'm pretty sure that's how it was, and we heard. And it looks like we might get an origin tale of her. Now, she interests me. I want to know more about her. I want to know more about Deathstorm, and I want to know more about Power Ring. This Owlman guy, he's kind of too similar to Batman. And Ultraman's personality is completely opposite from Superman, so that's why I like that, because it's just that pure evil opposite. He's kind of the same way, you know, so I don't know. It was okay. It was a 3 out of 5 for me. So next, moving on, we have number 15, and number 15 is Batman, issue number 26. I'm kind of bored with this right now. We haven't seen the Riddler in quite a few issues. You know, you got all the 0-year stuff going in, and it's kind of like, okay, we're trying to learn more about Batman in the 0-year, and he's doing battle against freaking Dr. Death, the guy that's like this bone-breaking tree guy, where he's got big teeth, and he's got gangly fingers, or whatever the hell I'm trying to say, and he, you know, they do battle against each other, trying to protect Lucius Fox, and you get to see the creature evolve after doing the battle, and he almost crushes Bruce's head, and he pretty much fractures his skull. But as the issue continues and goes along, you get Bruce Wayne, of course, trying to be stubborn and do the work that he wants to do and get out of bed, and Alfred wants nothing to do with it, but then he's chained to the bed, and he wants some... he's obviously wants to be talked to by Commissioner Gordon. And there's some good dialogue in between there, because you get to see Bruce, how he thinks the police is corrupt, that they're all for themselves, and, you know, he remembers Commissioner Gordon's trench coat and things like that. And I thought that was interesting. But besides that, I thought the issue was really forgettable, you know. He makes it a point to show Commissioner Gordon, did you ever see the barrel of the gun and whatnot, and see it from this view? And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And then the only thing you get from the Riddler is this one clue right here, and that's the only thing you get. Batman goes off right away, more bone tree people. Okay. and then you wind up seeing him getting shot at the end. Again, it wasn't my favorite issue. It was okay. It was average, but compared to most books out there this week, this didn't hit the mark whatsoever. Artwork is always great, but I thought the story was just boring, and Zero Year is boring right now. So again, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars. So next we're moving on to number 14. And number 14 is Invincible, issue number 107. Now this issue is quite fillerish. Really nothing progresses major in the Invincible universe. We still get Mark trying to protect his girlfriend, Adam Eve, or his fiancée now, or I think that's where they're at. And the issue opens up against these creature called the Magnemites. And, you know, our Guardians of the Globe and Invincible are forced to do, you know, battle against these creatures. And what happens in here is you get a mystery person that destroys this creature before Invincible does. Great artwork here. Really love Ryan Ottley's artwork on this title. So consistent. Each and every issue. Really nice job. And you see some seeds being planted for future issues with maybe some infidelity here. I don't know, because you got Invincible sharing a kiss with a fellow Viltrumite female. And he doesn't really resist that kiss. So we'll see what happens there. So you get to see that. You get to see him struggle, again, with his girlfriend about another villain called Anstrom Levy. And Anstrom Levy is a character that wants Invincible dead, no matter what the cost. And he almost killed Adam Eve in the last issue, but he got transported to a different dimension. So we see that behind Adam Eve's back, there's this plan to go and stop Anstrom Levy. This issue here also, where you see the cover, has to do with this character here. Her name is Amanda, and she actually has a son. And when she transforms into a monster, and that's why she's called Monster Girl, but it's a man monster. It's a male monster. So technically, this is her son, and she is the dad. So it's kind of confusing, but interesting stuff. Again, artwork is phenomenal. Females in this book are drawn beautifully, and the actual artwork when it comes to villains and creatures and facial expressions are really done well, nice too. So great story here. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Just for the fact being that it really didn't progress anything really what's going on. So we'll see how long that Anstrom Levy thing goes on. So next, we're going on to number 13. And number 13 is Justice League 3000, issue number 1. I think this is pretty much on the mark of where this is on the countdown. I think when I looked at everyone else's reviews and marks and written reviews, I see that across the board that people thought that there was something wrong with this issue, whether the characters were unrelatable, whether the artwork was rough, whether the facial expressions were bad, whether they hated the Wonder Twins. There was something that people did not like about this issue. Now, what I did like about this issue was I liked how the Justice League are a bunch of rejects. They're genetically engineered. They're clones. So you get the Wonder Twins, and if you guys are not familiar with the Wonder Twins, they're way back from the cartoon in the late 70s. They're the ones that are like, Wonder Twin powers, activate. I form water. I'm going to form a cheetah. So these guys are completely different, at least so far. We get to find out that they are very smart. They work for some type of government, and they created this Justice League, and they cloned them. But they're flawed in any way, shape, or form. You have Superman, who's freaking an egotistical jerk because he doesn't have that moral compass of the Kents. You have Batman, who's just, you know, he thinks he's better than Superman. So they have this thing. They're like oil and vinegar. They just don't go together. And they're always trying to beat each other up and things like that. And Superman's like, I'm Superman, and I talk in a third person. And Superman's going to kicks Bruce Wayne's ass. And that's how he is. The other characters here, again, they're all altered in some way. Green Lantern has a cape to use as his powers. You know, so it's really interesting book, and where it goes, I don't know. But this issue intrigued me enough to pick up the next issue to see if there is a developing story here worth reading. This issue was entertaining because of these characters and how messed up they really are. So if they fix them, though, then I think it's going to kind of get boring, and it's just going to be a Justice League in the future. So I don't know. We'll see. Keith Giffen writes it. Lots of dialogue, heavy book, but you got to really, you got to really read it and understand it to kind of appreciate what's going on here. So I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next we move on to number 12, and that is JLA issue number 10. And this is, again, number 12 on the list. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think this book could have been better. I think if this book was actually an origin story all the way through with Stargirl, I would have liked it that much better. Because the book opens up and you're learning about Stargirl. And you're learning about her origin. And if you're not familiar with her, this is a perfect way to get to know the character. Okay, her name is Courtney Whitmore is her real name. I can never remember her real name. But you get to see why she becomes this hero that she is today, and she wanted to put videos on YouTube, which I thought was awesome. And then you see how she gets the staff and how she gets the flight belt and things like that. And then you get freaking Martian Manhunter. Oh, come on, you have to focus. You have to do your battle. And then here it comes. Oh, she's getting her ass kicked, and because she's not focusing on anything that's going on, and she punches the villains in the face, and then the next thing you see, oh look, let's get back, and here comes Martian Manhunter. Come on, you gotta focus. It's because they're intertwined, kind of like Firestorm is. They're sharing the same brain or thoughts or whatever. But it interrupted the flow of the issue, and I did not like that. Every time I got into Stargirl, boom, here comes the villains, and we gotta do more action and battling in sequence scenes. And here comes what's his name? Copperhead. We're gonna sit there and he's gonna squeeze to death, and you gotta learn how to get by him. And then we got the origin issue. Here, you got staff. You gotta learn responsibility. Oh, we're gonna chop Blockbuster in the face and chop him up. And it's like, okay, but now we're gonna sit there and oh, you got Shadow Thief. We're gonna defeat, and then we're gonna sit there and learn more. And then at the end of the issue, you get to find out, she really wants to save her family no matter what the cost is, because nothing is more important than her family. So the issue is very repetitive. I liked learning about Stargirl here. By the time you get to it, they separated. Martian Manhunter and Stargirl are not together anymore. And when we see Stargirl go on her own. So it was a good issue to learn about her. I just didn't like all the interruptions with all the flow. So I gave this one, again, a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and that was number 12 on the list. So next, we're moving on to number 11. And number 11 was Chew, issue number 38. I'm not going to go too much into the story with Chew because you really got to read the book to understand so much of what's going on. But Chew is always this funny book that has this character. He's got a kybopath. He eats things, and he finds out where it's come from. And again, in this issue, you get to find that out. They always do a really good job. John Layman is the writer here. He does a great job of always reintroducing Tony Chu and what his powers are. And if he eats a cow, he's going to find out how that cow got killed. If he eats chicken, he's going to find out how it was fed. And if he eats mushrooms, he's going to find out where those mushrooms grew from. And if it grew from a pile of shit, well, it grew from a pile of shit. So you get to find out all that stuff. And in the issue, he wants to, he's grieving over his sister's death. He's trying to find out the killer. He's having, second thoughts on how to save things. The books always introduce new and crazy and interesting characters. You have one character in here that eats rock candy, and he turns into a rock candy character. Just really fun stuff. It's a great book. I'm always going to recommend it. This was a fun issue again, and I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next, moving on, we move on to number 10 on our list. So this is top 10, and we have issue number 3, Forever Evil tie-in of Arkham War. That's right, everybody. This book was pretty cool. I love this tie-in for Forever Evil. This issue has to do with Killer Croc. He's the centerpiece of this issue. Scarecrow kind of, sits there and pumps him up and says, you can take over Wayne Enterprises. You can live in this tower. You can rule from above and below. You can take charge of Gotham. And they're using Killer Croc as someone to defeat Bane because they feel like he's their strongest ally, and they have to protect these talons. And Bane wants these talons. And in the issue, Penguin's been kind of working with Bane because he wants Emperor Penguin gone and out of the mix, which does happen in here. So Bane takes care of Emperor Penguin. Penguin sits there and relays the information to Bane on where these talons are, but first he has to stop Killer Croc. And you get to see Bane do the funniest thing ever, but it was kind of awesome. He wheels together a bat suit because he's like, if he wants Batman, then he's gonna get Batman, and then he becomes this. And it's like, dude, that's freaking fun. That's fun stuff right there. I love that. And then you get to see something from Injustice Gods Among Us or whatever, or some kind of fighting game, and you get to see them go battle against each other, which is so cool. And the facial expressions here are awesome, and I really enjoyed these fighting scene, but there wasn't too much of a battle because really Bane controlled it, and he winds up tossing Killer Croc out the window, and he doesn't just like throw him out the window. He throws him far. I mean, he chucks him out there. I thought that was so badass. And then by the time you get to the end of the issue, it says Empire of the Bat. So they're trying to get these talons here. So I don't know. We're going to see where this goes. I really like this. It's just a fun read. It's enjoyable. And if you're a fan of Batman's Rogues Gallery, I think, done right, I think they're really fun. To see how they all interact with each other and work together. I think that's fun. All right, so moving on. We're moving now. We're in the top 10. We're in number 9, and number 9 this week is Amazing Spider-Man 700.3. Now, it's been really refreshing to see Peter Parker back here, and and this story may not have made my number 1 spot, but it was still a fun story to see a Peter Parker adventure here. And in this issue, you get to see him go against Firebrand, and they do this battle, and this Firebrand guy is like this cheese ball type of character in here. The one thing I'm still not getting too much from this, from the Spider-Man point issues is Spider-Man's humor. I really want to see his humor, and it's not really shown in any of the issues yet. However, the stories are really well written. But in this particular issue, you get to see him go with this battle against Firebrand. He uses all his power to basically burn Peter Parker alive, and he tries doing that, and he goes into a coma. Peter Parker winds up being so burnedly bad that no one can recognize him, and you get a ambulance coming and rescues these villains and takes them to a villain hospital. And I was like, dude, that's pretty awesome. That is neat. Where do the villains go when there's a freaking, when they get injured? I never knew there was a villains hospital, so that's where they take them. And so Peter Parker's so badly burned, they had to treat him for third-degree burns, I think 80% of his body. And so you get him healed up, and you get to see him slowly recover, and he's trying to figure out where he is, and he's not sure where he's at. And they know that, he's being treated and whatnot, and, you get the doctor here tells him, it won't be long before you're out of here, and blah, blah, blah. And Peter knows that he's against time, because as soon as they take away those bandages, they're going to find out who he is. So he's sitting there talking, and we find out, Peter really finds out that Shocker is in the hospital as well. And then he figures this out. And he's like, dude, this is a place for supervillains. He's like, I gotta get out of here. So in the issue then, he's trying to escape, and he can't because he's too weak. And then you get Firebrand, who comes out of his coma, and he sits there and gives away the information on who that person is that he fought. And they know now that it is Peter Parker Spider-Man, and this whole operation could be compromised, so they have to do something with him. So really interesting and original issue. You get a backstory here with Black Cat. I liked it. It was fun. Not my number one, but it was still a good book, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So with that being said, we're going to move on, and we're going to go to number 8 for this week. And number 8 was Manifest Destiny, issue number 2. I'm really liking this series so far, and part of the reason is that there's a lot of mystery involved in this series, and it's something different. You got the time takes place in the 1800s, and they discovered this uncharted territory, and they discovered this crazy species that kind of looked like this minotaur type of creature, and you get to see that here. But it wasn't. You know, you're trying to, our heroes are trying to dissect the creature and find out what it is. And in an issue, you get to see that the crew's like, I didn't sign up for this because you just found some freak ass creature. And they're like, dude, it says it right here on your contract. It says it right there on your contract. You guys got to stay. And they're sitting there talking to them. They're like, all right. So they're trying, you know, to discover this other uncharted territory, and they see this woman, and they're all going gaga over this naked lady, and she winds up plummeting to her death, and she falls on the ground, and they can't find her. So you're like, okay, what's going on there? But then you find out in the issue that they're getting chased by more of these minotaur-like creatures, and they find out going into this abandoned village where no one is at. No one lives there, nobody, no population. One of the crew members winds up getting taken away by the characters, and they all see that. And then by the time you get to the complete end of the issue, they see this abandoned house, and they see these crazy people in there, and they're like, oh, hello, who are you? And they're these plant-like creatures. So my theory is in this book is I feel like there's some plant species thing that's being focused, around this book. I don't know what it is yet. I can't hit it yet. But the story was fun. There was a great mix of action and mystery, and I like where this book is going. The colors fit the book because it fits that time period. I really enjoyed it. If you guys want to see an in-depth review on this book, I'm posting videos on a site called Comic Frontline. If you guys are not familiar with it, it is a website. It's called comicfrontline.com, and it's me and the Dark Avenger Inc. crew put it together. It's more really of a written article site, but I put an exclusive video on there once a week, and I did this book. So this book was really interested. Check that out on Frontline channel, and you can see the full review on there. Fun book. Can't wait for issue number 3. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. Fun stuff. So moving on, we're going on to number 7. Number 7 is Superman Wonder Woman issue number 3. That's right. Where we last left off in last issue, you get to see Zod come back. First we saw Doomsday. Now it's Zod, and Zod's in the issue. And what happens is the book opens up with heavy dialogue with Bruce Wayne and Superman. And Superman is having trouble dealing with all the power that he accumulated through the god Apollo, which was Wonder Woman's brother. And he goes to the dark side of the moon. He flies around 100 times to try to burn off that energy. And he's literally scared here. But Bruce Wayne sits there and tries to calm him down, which I think between those characters was really good interaction. I really enjoyed that interaction. And next you get to see Wonder Woman trying to find a particular gift for Clark. You know, she wants something special for him, something that's meaningful and important to him. As the issue continues, you get to see Zod make his return. Doesn't know where he is. He can't speak the language yet. Takes some time, and he's being attacked by Martian Manhunter, Hawkman, and Vibe, and you see that here. But then Superman and Wonder Woman wind up capturing him, and they put him in the Fortress of Solitude, and just to ask him more questions and find out what's going on. He's very cooperative, you know, right now at this point in time. He understands everything that's going on. And then when we get to the end of the issue, the gift that Wonder Woman or Diana gives to Clark is time, because he never has any time to himself. And I thought that was quite nice. It was a very original type of gift because he's so busy all the time. And just as he gets that moment in time, oh, does that sound familiar? Uh, he hears everything that everybody knows that him and Wonder Woman are together, and that's how the issue ends. So this was a fun read. I'm really liking Superman and Wonder Woman. I think from all the Superman books, I think this is my favorite, and I think if you want to read a little bit of Wonder Woman, I think this is good too. I like it. There's a lot of people that don't agree with them being together, and I think eventually it's going to exploit their relationship how they shouldn't be together. But right now it's working for me, and I like it. And I like how we're bringing back characters from Superman that we know, like Zod and Doomsday. And if they're going to tell the stories, of Superman's death or, where Zod came from, that will be interesting too. So we'll see where it goes. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed this one too. So next we continue the countdown and we move on to number 6, and number 6 is Batgirl issue number 26. This is the conclusion to the Wanted story arc. Finally, after freaking Villains Month and 0 Year and all the other crap in between, we finally get Batgirl conclusion, and we're all trying to figure out what's going to go on here. And the story, the main story with Batgirl coming in and crashing in to try to stop the gang from destroying Commissioner Gordon, I thought was action-packed. It had lots of action. It was great to see that. But I wasn't so interested in that because it was delaying what was going to happen at the end of this issue. Because that Batgirl is going to prevail in the end against these clowns. And what you really wanted to find out was, did this cover stay true to what was going to happen in the issue? And let's just say that, a little bit of a spoiler here, that yes, it did, because she winds up revealing herself. And Commissioner Gordon doesn't want to see that reveal, which I thought was awesome. And the interaction between father and daughter was fantastic here because she can read her father's mind. She knows what he's going to say, and you can feel the passion in the characters. I thought it was really good. You can see that expression in the faces and the eyes. I thought it was a really interesting book. I really think that Commissioner Gordon, deep down inside, I think he knows that it's his daughter, but just doesn't want to accept it. I think he really knows that. And by her revealing herself, it would have confirmed it, and he didn't want to see it. And I think those few pages is what made this issue so good, and made it so high on my list, which was number 6. The beginning part was just like, who cares? Let's get to the end of this already. And then that's what I love to see. And those last 2 pages definitely delivered for me. So that was number 6. So now moving on to top 5. Number 5. And that is Nova issue number 11. That's right, everybody. Nova issue number 11. Nova is such a fun book. Sam Alexander is a great character here. He's just, you laugh because he's a teenager and he thinks like a teenager and he acts like a teenager. And yet he's this superhero that has all this responsibility, but at home, he doesn't want to take care of his baby sister. He wants to go out and save the world. We get a new writer on this book, Gary Duggan. And I thought he did a great job with it. I thought he nailed Sam Alexander. Sam is seeing spots. He feels that he's not well, and the doctor's like, whoa, what's going on with you? Have you been getting hit in the head? Have you been experiencing trauma lately? And it's great because you see these panels here, and these panels are on here, and it's just like, he's like, well, I got beat by an alien. I'm shooting beams. I got a book thrown at my head. He tells the doc, yeah, doc, no, I'm fine, dude. So he's like, all right, Sam, well, I'll see you later. And Sam gets in this fight with the school bully, and he winds up going to the principal's office, and you wind up seeing him join the chess club, which I thought was hysterical. So he joins the chess club, finds out what's going on with chess. He winds up finding out that these spots that he's seeing is a star map of maybe of novas that have died in the past. So that was cool. And just as Sam is getting out of school, he has to go and he's got to watch his baby sister. And it was so funny between the interaction between those two, because she's sitting there going, the sister sits there and goes, she's like, that's not mom. She's like, this is not how mom makes it. And he's like, well, I'm not mom. I made it. And she's like, no, you didn't make it. Mom made it. You just microwaved it. So they're going back and forth. And and he's like, what is this show? He's like, it sucks. And she's like, be quiet. He's like, forces the clock forward, and he's just like, hey, look at the time. It's like, hey, it's time to bed. Carries her to bed, and he pretends that he's asleep, and then he winds up, once he hears his mom come home, boom, he goes out into the adventures, and he starts trying to beat these crazy spider-like creatures. He finds that these stars, again, are nova deaths, and he has to, he wants to figure out more what's going on. And we find out there's this bounty hunter at the end, too, that kills all the Novas. Just the dialogue here with Sam Alexander is what makes this title so fantastic. He's a very relatable superhero. And, I can see a teenager reading this book and going, dude, I can relate to this kid. He's 15 years old, whatever the case may be. And, he's a cool superhero. And that's what I liked about this book. It's young, it's fresh, it's exciting, and I enjoy where Nova is going at this point in time. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The only thing I didn't like was the villain at the end. I'm like, we'll see where it goes, but the dialogue makes up for it. So next we move on, and we go on to number 4. And number 4 is Superior Foes of Spider-Man, issue number 6. Now this book is dialogue heavy, lots of story here, but I really enjoyed the story. You get to find out what this Dr. Doom painting is all about, because the head of Silvermane supposedly doesn't exist. In the beginning of the issue, you get to see Boomerang, who's undercover with the glasses and the mustache with his girlfriend. They sit there and wind up having great interactions at a ball game. She sits there and says she doesn't love the pitch. She hates the pitcher. And right away when she says that, he's in love with her. And you see these scenes in here going, oh my God, I want to marry you, because he was replaced by this pitcher. He used to be a pitcher in the big leagues. And, he was framed and shit like that. So, again, great interaction between the girlfriend and him. He wants a kiss. He doesn't get it. He kind of strikes out at the end there. You get to see, again, where this Dr. Doom painting came from. It's a painting of his original face. It's worth like $3 billion on the market. And you get to see where it was from. And you get to see these cool little basic panels here, where it's traveled all around the world and why it's worth so much. You get our rest of our Sinister 6, maybe 5, captured by the Owl, and they're trying to bargain with them to find out what's going on here. And you see the Beetle. She's got this plan up her sleeve, and you get to see her trying to contact somebody, trying to dial the cell phone, and you're wondering throughout the issue who she's trying to get. You always get these crazy little dialogue bubbles with facials and on there. And you get to see Boomerang trying to hide the painting from Mach 4 or 5, I think his name is, which is the original Beetle, from him, because it's it's like he doesn't want anybody to see the painting, and it's his parole officer, and he's like, well, dude, we gotta stop it. It's not really Boomerang. I'm not really doing bad stuff. So he tries to avoid things. So there's great humor in here, but by the end of the issue, you find out that Tombstone is the father of Beetle, and he's gonna come and save the day. That's great stuff. I loved it. It's such like a mob-like book. It's like the Spider-Man Mafia or something. I loved it. I truly enjoyed this book. Such a great read. Awesome series, man. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So next we move on and we go in to our top three. Top three, number three. And number three is The Walking Dead All Out War. That's right, everybody. This series continues. And this is a big issue because it has a death involved in the whole thing. And the death is, well, if you love animals, you're going to be upset because it's the death of Shiva the tiger. And we all know that that's King Ezekiel's pet. And it sacrificed his life, for King Ezekiel because Rick and the other members separated into groups, and they're going after Negan's outposts. They have Negan trapped in his home base because they let Holly drive in and opened up the gates, and the zombies are fulfilling the home base. So now our groups are taking over the outpost, and they're trying to, destroy his men from the outside too. Rick's group fares fairly well. There is a loss between the two husbands in the group, and his name was Eric. So Eric is the one that gets killed here. But for the most part, they prevail. They beat Negan's man in that outpost. Ezekiel didn't fare too well. He got people killed. He saw his own men change into zombies in front of him. He was on the run. He was by himself. His tiger comes and saves him, but sacrifices itself from the zombies. The zombies were hoarding after the tiger and wound up eating the tiger. And the narration was beautifully done here by Ezekiel himself, and he's telling the whole story to Michonne. And Michonne is kind of they're kind of together, the love interest right now. And Ezekiel sees himself now as a failure, and he feels like he should have been the one to die because they would have looked at him as a hero, and when now he looks at him as a loser, and things like that. Great issue. I really liked it. It was very touching. I love animals, and I know how important animals are to people. And this tiger cub, he raised it from birth, pretty much. And he was a zookeeper in a zoo. And to see an animal die, it's got to be aggravating because that is his family. He has no family left now. Rick still has his family, and Ezekiel, this tiger was his family and it protected him. So it was sad to see the tiger go. Very good issue. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Can't wait to see, again, where this story keeps going. It's coming out twice a month. We're already on part 4 of 12, going on to 5. So next, number 2 on the list. Now, number 2 on the list is Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. That's right. Ultimate Comics Spider-Man issue number 2. Last where we left off in this particular issue is that we get to see, our heroes, Cloak and Dagger, wind up seeing this. That's where we last left off. They're like, oh my God, what's happening? Is it the end of the world? In the first page of the issue, you get this 2 years ago. And if you read the Ultimates back then, you realized that it was Ultimatum happening, and that was the last time we saw Dagger see the end of the world. And you get to see that through her eyes here. Great facial expressions. Again, you see it through the eyes. You really capture that in the book, and you even get to see a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man, or Ultimate Spider-Man. Sorry, Peter Parker. And so again, the book does a fantastic job at going to present day. Now, this issue does flash back and forth between 2 years ago and today, but they know when to do it. They don't overdo it, and it doesn't interrupt the flow like it did in JLA. This book, they flash back at certain key moments. We get to see Miles rescuing a child, and then it flashes back, and it goes back to this time where, during Ultimatum, where they're trying to evacuate the city. And it's all because of the mutants and all the superheroes. Why Miles' dad hates them. He doesn't like them. He despises them. And they focus on that particular point. And you get to see, you know, our heroes don't really do much against Galactus here. Bombshell was kind of clueless on what was going on. I didn't like that so much because how can you be so clueless of what's happening? But when she finds out, she goes into action, stops looters, things like that. But we see that Miles winds up saving the child, and the father was so grateful for it that Miles felt that it was important to go to his father because he knows that his father was going to be looking for him. And so he's calling. You see it. You see his father going, Miles, Miles. And the next thing you see is you see Spider-Man come face to face with him. And his dad pushes him back, and he goes, get away from me. He goes, Dad? And he goes, what did you just call me? He goes, I just want to get you to safety. I can get you out of here. He's like, please, Dad. He's like, Dad, it's me. Let me save you. You're like, oh, shit. He just revealed himself to his father. What is his father going to think of him? Great stuff, man. Great stuff. I'm looking at this as like it's just an Ultimate Comics Spider-Man book. It is so well written, so well drawn. It it was so good. That reveal at the end of it is wild. Why, though, Ultimate Comics Spider-Man chose Cloak and Dagger and Bombshell to team up with him to help stop Galactus, I'm not really sure. I'm not really getting where they fit into, you know, everything here, but we'll see where it goes. But this was a fantastic issue. Came so close to being pick of the week, but I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Those are those little nitpicky things that I found wrong with it there, you know, especially with Bombshell being so, I don't care, dude. You're listening to your iPod. You're that tuned out to the world that you can't see this big, giant, crazy-ass creature that's the size of freaking, I don't know, Empire State Building, maybe bigger than that, and you don't know what's going on, and you see people running, and some car falls on your friend's face. That was a little odd. All right, so next, moving on. Our number one comic book of the week, and this is by far, maybe, possibly comic book of the year for me. And don't forget, I didn't forget about Road to Comic of the Year. We're getting close to the end of the year, and that's when I'm going to reveal all the comics for the year that will be nominated. But this could be nominated for Comic of the Year for me because, and I'll tell you why. And it was Amazing Spider-Man issue 700.2. This was Spider-Man stripped down to his finest. This was Peter Parker. This was a Spider-Man tale that was pure Peter Parker. It was fantastic. The last issue, you get to see part one of this story. You got to see the snowstorm coming. Peter Parker was so exhausted that he slept through the beginning part of this storm. And Aunt May was experiencing some troubles during this storm. You know, the electricity went out, a tree broke through the window, so it's getting really cold. And when Peter Parker wakes up, he feels that his spider sense was starting to tingle, and it's getting more intense and more intense because he feels that there was this danger that kept on looming more and more and more because an inevitable Aunt May was going to die. So what happens is he has to go through this snowstorm to get to Aunt May, and he goes through any obstacle. He comes across many obstacles in the actual issue, and Peter was so unselfish in this issue. He wasn't thinking himself in any way, shape, or form. He is completely opposite from Superior, and after reading Superior for a whole year, I forgot how great of a character Peter Parker really is. He stops at no lengths to stopping burning buildings and rescuing innocent bystanders. There was no supervillains in this issue. This was just Peter Parker being the hero that he is and what we know him for and what we love him for. And he helps the firemen. He helps people from, again, the burning building. He helps a pregnant lady in an ambulance. And he tries to plow a bridge, you know, snowplow a bridge so the ambulance can get by. In the meantime, he's freezing his ass off. He's almost being killed from frostbite. And, you know, he rescues a snowplow driver from, you know, hitting the ambulance. And he takes a ride in the car, which was pretty cool to see. And he starts hallucinating. So if you're a fan of supervillains, you do get it in here in a way, which was nice to see. But you don't see modern day villains. You get to see how they were drawn in the past, which was awesome. So you get to see Hobgoblin. You get to see Lizard in classic form, Sandman, Vulture, Scorpion, Electro with the mask, Dr. Octopus based off of the 90s style, Green Goblin. If you're a fan of the character, you're going to love this issue because it hits the character in all shapes and forms. And then, of course, at the end, what Spider-Man issue isn't complete without Uncle Ben? And he hallucinates so much that he sees Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben guides him to Aunt May's house. When he finally gets to Aunt May's house and warms up, Aunt May is still half passed out. He's still in his Spider-Man costume. It was just so good. And he'll do any length for his Aunt May, anything. But what was so great is that he wanted to save everybody. And oh my God, it was fantastic. Even at the end of the issue, he snowplowed the whole sidewalk for Aunt May. And Aunt May did the role reversal. And when she felt better, she wanted to take care of Peter. And sits there and puts him to bed. And you see a picture of Uncle Ben and Peter. It was such a touching issue. Really fantastic. It's just I'm speechless behind it. You know, we look for hope in our superheroes, and you know, my good friend Chris Ventura, Dark Avenger C86, just did a vlog on this, and he hit a specific point. A lot of our heroes today are not the same. A lot of them are anti-heroes and are dark and violent and brutal. And you see that right here in the Superior Spider-Man title. You see Doc Ock just going to town on people, beating people up. And I get, you know, people like action and violence and things like that, but we tend to forget our heroes and what made them so great in the first place and why we love them so much. It's because of issues like this. Peter didn't go against one supervillain in this entire issue. You saw glimpses of him, but all he did was rescue people. And it was, again, Spider-Man stripped down to his finest. And I love this issue. And that's why it got Book of the Week for me. Really well done. The writer here was, oh, come on, David Morrell. Great job. And Klaus Janson did a pretty good job on the artwork too. Facial expressions weren't the best, but I overlooked it all. And that's why I got 5 stars. So guys, that is it. That is it. This is actually a second go around at the countdown. My computer crept out on me at number 4. So I've been doing this now for 2 hours. So I finally got my number 1. So guys, there you have it. You saw the worst. You've witnessed the best. And guys, leave me your comments below on what you thought was the number 1 comic of the week. And as always, guys, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.